Good afternoon and good day, everyone. I'm Miss Belinda, and you are joining me for our podcast, A Day at a Time. And I am so excited today because I have a really special guest that I've known for a number of years, and I won't exactly say, but she's younger than me, but nonetheless, I have known her for a very long time. And what we're going to be talking about today on our journey, you're not going to want to miss this. So thank you for joining me. You know that this is the podcast where we thrive a day at a time. And for today's podcast, you're actually going to have an opportunity to take a conversational journey with Cheryl Victorian, Dr. Victorian, who's thriving in so many ways, one of which is in her capacity as the City of Waco Chief of Police. So let's give Cheryl an applause. I can't clap on here out loud, but hi, Cheryl, and thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I am doing great. It's really good to have you. And I appreciate Cheryl is a really busy chief of police. I'm telling y'all, she is a really busy. So we're going to make the maximum use of her time and our time. And actually, I will give y'all a little heads up. I have known Cheryl over 30 years. So every once in a while, I'm trying to say chief, but I apologize if sometimes I slip Cheryl and then I'm doing now, saying Cheryl. But I'll do my best to.
Cheryl's is the thing.
I'll do my best to give her props because she has really earned it. When you learn more about her, you're going to understand why. You really need to address her as chief. So Cheryl's life and her career is really exciting to me. And even though I said, yes, I've watched her for a long time, I actually watched her graduate when she initially became a police officer in the police academy. I watched her, I attended a few of her graduation ceremonies. And Cheryl, I have actually continued to watch you grow and immerse yourself in the passion that you have. This is a passion I could tell that you have for helping our communities through the dedication of law enforcement. So I'm going to give y'all first, if Cheryl don't mind, and I hope you don't mind me pouring these accolades on you because people really need to know who you are and how you've become not just the police officer, but the lady that you are. But Cheryl is actually a native Texan, and she's been in law enforcement for about 29 years as a professional. And she was sworn into the City of Waco's Chief of Police position in March of 2021 after serving in the Houston Police Department for approximately 28 years. Now, Chief Victorian retired from the Houston Police Department as an assistant chief in the Patrol Region 2 and Command. I got that right, Cheryl?
Yes.
So far, so good?
So
All right.
far, so good.
Great. So many people that are listening, including me prior to now, have actually really probably, Chief, never had an opportunity to hear the voice and the heart behind the badge, especially of a chief of police. And so it's important to recognize, and why we're even doing this podcast, y'all, is to recognize that they're human. She has feelings, she has emotions, she has dreams and goals, just like any other person. She has people that love her and care about her, like myself and her own family and friends. And so when we go on this journey today, I want you to just kind of relax and allow her to relax and let her share a little bit with us about herself. But I wanted Cheryl to immerse us into Waco. What is the life of Waco like for you now that you've moved from Houston to Waco, Texas? What is it like?
You know, each and every day has really been exciting, and I am not exaggerating about that. And I know we'll get into spirituality a little later. I had never had any intentions of leaving the Houston Police Department or the city of Houston. But when this opportunity came up, I prayed about it, and I just told God if it was His will, that's what I wanted to do. And each and every morning on my way to work when I'm praying, I just thank God for this opportunity because there's not been one day that I have thought, man, what did I do? Because I knew that if I was working in God's will, that He was going to take care of me through the good times and the bad times. So the community has been exceptional. It's like, my family was worried because I knew nobody here. But when they come down and visit, they go, "You have another family. You're not coming back to Houston, are you?" And that answer is probably no. But it's been phenomenal. Our team is phenomenal. We have 260 officers. We have an authorized strength of 294 and over 100 support staff. And each and every day they go out and put forth their best efforts to make sure that we're connecting with the community and policing procedurally just. So I'm very, very proud of this team as well.
Ooh. Well, actually, y'all, we could probably end the podcast because everything that Cheryl said was part of my podcast, but I'm actually going to keep going. But she really kind of covered the kind of basics, which is great, Cheryl. But I'm going to spin us back and slow us down a bit. But I really did want to hear that because those of us in this Houston area, of course, when she initially left, we were excited for her. But at the same time, we're like, oh, she's leaving. But I'm happy to know we've had a chance to talk here and there, but I'm happy to know that she has a new family that loves her and takes care of her in Waco, just like she did when she was in Houston. But I want folks to understand this kind of education position and the map and the role that you have taken to get where you are, because academia is a vital in your role, and people may not understand the commitment that it takes from an educational standpoint that is required to become elevated and promoted to the position and the seat that you actually occupy now. So I wanted to be able to underscore and highlight the things that you've gone through over the past 29 years while you're still going to work. It wasn't like you could say, well, I'm just not going to work every day in the police force in Houston, then I'm just going to take off and then I'm just going to be in school. So if you'll let me run through this, because people really need to know what you're standing on. You are standing on a firm foundation in education. And there may be a lot of ladies as well as men who are interested in the same career path. So Cheryl is a graduate of the Police Executive Research Forum. Those are different police organizations, if I'm saying that correct. And she's been in the Senior Management Institute for Police. And that's session number 81. She's part of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's National Academy. She's been a part of the Discover Leadership Master Graduate class and a graduate of the International Association of Chief of Police Women's Leadership Institute course. Now, in addition to that, you would think that she wouldn't have a whole lot of time on her hands, but somehow she's managed to become an adjunct professor. Also, on the side, at the Southern New Hampshire University, she teaches contemporary issues in criminal justice, ethics, and graduate capstone course. For the past 6 years, are you still doing that, Cheryl?
So that's going to be part of my story because I've had to give some things up this semester. So I just finished my last class. I've been teaching there since 2016. Yes, and I also taught as an adjunct professor at Baylor University up until this past Wednesday night. I did that for a year and a half and had to give it up. But nevertheless, it's been part of my journey and got me where I am. So yes.
That was on my list as well. So I'm glad you let us know that even though she has to have recently ended that portion of her career path, but I'm sure that you were a blessing to so many people and students who were able to sit up under your teaching. But Cheryl actually also is a doctor of philosophy and administration of justice. She earned her doctorate degree from Texas Southern's. So applaud you for that as well.
Thank you.
You've been recognized. Cheryl has been recognized in a lot of different areas and groups and organizations, such as the 100 Club of Houston's first African American female rookie police officer of the year. Yes. And she's earned Life Savings Awards, Award of Excellence, Chief of Unit citations, and a lot of citizen and chief police commendations. And now here's something too that I really like as I was reading about Cheryl and catching up on her history since she's left the Houston area, is that in 2021, she was the recipient of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs. And that national, this is a long-term, Cheryl, Sojourner Meritorious Service Award. That was a mouthful.
Sojourner
So
Truth, yes.
I applaud you. And these are just a few, y'all. I couldn't even put everything on here, but I just really wanted y'all to understand that this lady is someone who loves to learn. She loves enriching herself and growing and developing. And so I wanted to ask you, is this the typical academic and professional path that those who might be seeking a law enforcement career as a chief, is this what the path looks like for most of you all who have arrived at this particular seat in life?
That's a great question, and the answer to that is no. Typically, chiefs of police may have a bachelor's degree, and more are attaining or earning a master's degree. I knew early on after I earned my bachelor's degree that I wanted to earn my Ph.D. because I wanted to teach at the college level. I wanted to be a police officer first, but I wanted to teach at the college level because I was really passionate about classroom work. And we had a lot of instructors in the classroom when I was earning my bachelor's degree that had a lot of academic knowledge and a lot of theoretical knowledge, but they didn't have a lot of practical knowledge. So it wasn't really very interesting, but I had a passion and I knew what I wanted to do. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go back and earn my PhD and come back into the classroom, and which I was, thank God I was able to do. And I hate that I have to give it up, but I had to start saying no to some things because I have a very busy schedule now. But I was blessed to be in the classroom and have received invitations to come back when I'm ready. So I will do that. But also, I just felt like earning my PhD would increase my credibility as a law enforcement professional. And the testing process for policing and promotional opportunities is very, very competitive. And with the Houston Police Department, every degree you had, you get an extra point. And it may not sound like much, but when you have 80, 90 people competing for 10 positions, and you add those scores up to the decimal point, it makes a difference, right? And so I always felt like I wanted to be a step ahead, and I needed to be a step ahead as an African American and a female in law enforcement, particularly since we only make up 12% of law enforcement across this country, and chiefs of police only make up 3% of police chiefs across this country out of 18,000 organizations, and African American females make up less than 0.5% of that 3%. So I always felt like I had to position myself and to be credible to do the work that I'm doing. So there's still accomplishments that need to be had in the field as it relates to females in policing. But yeah, that's the reason that I decided to earn my PhD.
Wow, I'm listening to you and you're sharing things that we would never know or understand. And I thought about that as I was preparing that, yeah, it had to be, I'm sure, a challenge and difficult. And the percentage, like you just gave us, of the number of women and Black women, Black African American women who actually excel and get to be in the position that you're in. But on top of that, literally down to the decimal, like you're saying, that it makes a difference. And so when you're talking and I'm listening and I'm kind of feeling the passion that you're saying about education, it's like the more you learn, the more you thrive. That's the part of who you are. Not all people, like you said, are like that or would be interested in going to that level. But I love the fact that you pictured yourself in the classroom in a university like you were, and you thought, this is good, but I just can't totally relate because the people that are teaching really can't relate to what's going on out there that we are having to face. And so you took that and then you decided, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make a change. And I want to be that professor and that law enforcement personnel that I can put the two together so I can help people to really understand. No, this is really how you make impact.
That's
Sounds
right.
like.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what my intent was. And when I taught at Baylor, and the semester's still going on, we just had our final this past Wednesday, though. It was so important to be in the classroom right there because our students had a totally different perception of policing and what police officers were and what we did. And our characteristics, and to be in front of the classroom and to humanize the badge. I've had more internships, I've had more kids changing their majors, and it's just been a phenomenal opportunity because I bring policing into the classroom, and I did it every semester, and that's just so important. So yeah, it's been great.
Now, when you say they changed their careers or their majors, was that actually to become a policeman after being in your class?
To become a policeman or to work in the field of criminal justice and forensics. We're implementing a lot of social workers into our organizations now too. So yeah, they want to be a part of the team, have a better understanding of policing and criminal justice. And I've had several who would have never thought about coming to do a ride along to want to go and do ride alongs with our officers on their 10-hour shifts. So it's been exciting. I think I've accomplished much. We were able to get some other police officers in the classroom to take my place. And, when they asked me to teach, they asked someone else to teach here. And so we still have somebody in the classroom that can lead, guide, and direct. And I take every opportunity that I can in the city of Waco. I don't care wherever. I've gone across this country to talk to women, to talk to other organizations about policing and the things that we need to do to have an impact on increasing the number of positive interactions we have with our communities and to just build the bridge that's been broken for so many years. So
when you mentioned like the bridge, and that was one of the thoughts that I had that I wanted you to be able to share, is from the time that you were starting in the academy, through Houston and then in Waco, what has been the transition or what you can tell the change in the community as far as the face of law enforcement? Has it improved? Is it more positive? Or is it negative? Or is it like a roller coaster? It kind of goes up and down. And what do you think might be impacting that in the hearts of when you look at people? You have family, of course, in the community, and you have friends like me in the community. And then we all hear the news. So how do you think, the law enforcement is really impacting communities today compared to maybe when you were in a lower ranking position as an officer?
So the past 7 years have been just a roller coaster for policing, right? When I first became a police officer, I never thought that we'd be where we are now. A lot of people say these are challenging times in policing, and I always say, no, these are times of opportunity in policing. And a couple of things happened. Michael Brown in Missouri, in Ferguson, Missouri, right? And I think that is what really kicked off the social justice movement. And then we had several officer-involved, police-involved shootings that just further distance police officers from our communities, minority communities in particular. But there's always been an issue in policing because the history of policing, we're talking about the history of policing, it's always been traumatic for particularly African Americans, starting with slave patrols. We go to Bloody Sunday, we go to the civil rights movements, we go to Jim Crow laws and officers enforcing laws now that some of us go, wait, what? Right? And a lot of that mistrust and anger have been passed on from generation to generation. So we've always had our work to do. Right now, it's becoming evident that, and people are acknowledging that that's what's going on. I, as an African American female, the first time that I saw the video of George Floyd was the day after. I sat in my bed and I'm shaking my head and I cried after I saw that 9 minutes. And I was like, can't believe this could have been my brother. This could have, and this guy just set us back so many years. All the work that we've been doing to try to build that relationship in our communities, it's about to start over, right? And I felt that as an African American and a female. 2 days later, when they're burning down a police station, I cried again watching TV because I was like, oh my God, people hate the police so much that this is what they're doing. When the majority of us go to work each and every day with integrity, with honor, to do the job that we have sworn to do, right? But now one person has just changed the rhetoric of what we try to do each and every day. And I tell my officers all the time, we have to build so much social emotional capital in our communities that when something happens across the country, they say, no, not Waco PD, because that's not what we see in our community. And if something does happen in our community, that I've been out and about in our community so much that they'll say, okay, you know what, let's give Chief Victorian an opportunity to hold those officers accountable and change policy if policy needs to be changed. But yeah, we've it's been a roller coaster these past several years, but again, I still see it as a time of opportunity. We focus on relational policing here in Waco and relational leadership and increasing the number of positive interactions we have in our community. We focus on prevention and intervention, over apprehension. However, there are some that we're going to have to arrest that are not going to, follow the rules, that are causing havoc in our communities. But we're doing what we can here, and I'm just very proud of our team that when I got here, they saw the vision, and now 2 years later, they're just running with it on their own. So it's been great.
So in Waco, not just the parts of the city, but overall, what is the diversity as far as the culture in Waco that your police officers actually have to be engaged with as far as community and neighborhoods?
So our city is 40% white, 30% Hispanic, 20% African American, and 10% other, right?
Okay.
Our department, however, is about 70% white, 10% African American, and about 20% Hispanic American, right? And when we're talking about recruiting and those numbers, our police departments really should be representative of our agencies. They just should, of our cities, the cities that we serve, right? And we have a ways to go, but now it's so hard to attract minorities in policing because of the past several years, which is why I feel it's so important to be out and about in the community, and people can see me and humanize the badge and realize that if this is something that you would like to do, it's something you can do. You need to be the change that you want to see.
That's I think I'm more wild because you're just sharing so much more. And I said earlier that we were going to see behind the badge, and we're seeing that part of your heart. And so I hope that as other people are listening and they can see that, the 90% or more of the heart of police officers is to take care of their communities, to have a positive impact, and to have a relationship with the people in their community. So those people do trust them and know that they can go to a police officer when there is a need, and they can trust that something will be done, on their behalf or on behalf of their family, even those instances where a person may have to call because there's a mental health issue that they have going on with a family member or a friend, and they don't know how to handle it. And I know that you all are getting more and more training to deal with, as we're all learning this term, and it's not new, but we used to just stray away from saying mental health issues. But that's what we are all facing, dealing with, is there more and more, and whether that be through or as a result of COVID, whether it's just oppression, finances, pressures that people are going through, these incidences are happening more and more frequently. And I'm sure the training, again, that you all are having to take is surrounded, or I'm sure focused on that. So what type of training do y'all go through now to deal with more of incidences and things that happen with mental health issues?
So of course we have de-escalation training, but we also have crisis intervention training. But one of the things that I'm most proud of that we're doing with the Waco Police Department now, we have a social resource coordinator who is a social worker with a master's degree who specializes in working with those who are experiencing a mental crisis or may have a mental illness, right? And those people who call frequently, and making sure that they have those resources that they need, that follow up, as opposed to us having to go to this person's house every week and tie up resources that are limited. So we have a social worker working with us, and we also work very closely with the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network. And we have recently received a grant where we will put mental health professionals in our dispatch centers so that they can handle the calls and provide resources before having to send an officer out. Because a lot of the times, I mean, even I don't care how much training they give us, we get 6.5 months of training to learn how to be police officers, and only a portion of that, a small portion of that, is dedicated to addressing mental health. There are people that are more skilled at that than we are. And so now we're allowing them to take their places inside of our organizations to better serve that community. Now, if somebody is violent and mentally ill, of course, we have to go out there to hurt themselves or somebody else. But if we can at all avoid that, then that's what we do.
That's amazing. So on the front end, it looks like there are measures now being taken, probably not just in your team, but others across the United States to diffuse what could escalate before it does through, like you say, that intervention on the phone. And those people that are better trained, being able to talk to people and to talk them down or to calm them down, and then to help them to think maybe through things rationally. And then I imagine set them up with programs through those calls where they can maybe seek help, throughout their life, or be able to go hook up with agencies or counselors and things like that, that those social workers can route them to.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I can't
Yes.
hear it. Okay, now it's picked up now.
Oh, it said that
So
the internet was unstable. I apologize. I'm not sure if you heard what I was asking you then.
I did not hear
Let me
you.
just repeat it. So I was saying, I'm happy to hear that the process that y'all have in place with your social workers helps to diffuse things that could be escalating. So you have someone on the front end who is, like you said, very well trained and gets more than the couple weeks or months training that y'all are able to get, but they can go in, talk to people, calm them down, help them to maybe rationally think through issues before they act out on that issue, and then maybe route them to appropriate sources even after that call so they can start getting help in the community outside of the police force, it sounds like.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what's going on.
Okay, good. Now you mentioned something earlier, and I just want to dive back really quick. So I'm happy because you said that your family rallied around you. So people who are maybe looking at this as a career path, I imagine you can let them know that it's so critical to have the family support, and you were blessed because your family did embrace your decision. But not all people, of course, get that because people are, nervous, moms, dads, sisters, and brothers, and they're nervous for their loved ones. But can you help or encourage people to understand maybe how to decision? So I wanted to see if you can maybe share with people that are listening who are making that decision, how they can maybe talk to their family members, because of course, your family's a little nervous about that, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not sure. I don't think that's safe or whatever." But how can you help them to communicate that, hey, this is the decision I made. I really need your support, that they can get their family members to come alongside them and help them along that path?
I think there are several ways to do that now, more ways than I knew when I first became a police officer. My mom was the same way. She said her heart broke when I told her I wanted to be a police officer, not because of any negative experiences with the police, but because the only thing she saw was the dangerous work in policing. But now we have the opportunity to, if you know that this is what you want to do and you're passionate about serving others, I think that it's important that you sit down with your family and that you tell them that this is what you want to do, and you tell them about the differences that you can make in this profession, particularly now when there's a lot of mistrust. You want to be that person that goes out into the community and humanize the badge, and be able to connect with people and help to change perceptions of who we are and what we do. I always tell my team it's hard to hate up close, and I like to reverse that and say it's easier to love up close. So if we're spending time together and you get to know me, it's hard for you to say you don't like me, right?
I would have to agree.
So thank you. But I think also there are opportunities for families to come and participate in citizens police academies, to come and do their own ride along. As a chief, if somebody's family wants to sit, I have a young lady who wanted to be a police officer, and she said she was having a hard time convincing her mom. And I was like, have your mom to come talk to me. I will sit down and talk to your mom, about this job, and, maybe talk to others that are in this profession or in the field or in the agency that you want to work in, and talk about some of the things that you want to accomplish. It's a dangerous job, yes, but it's more rewarding at the end of the day than it is dangerous. Are you going to have to pull your weapon throughout your career? Absolutely. Fortunately, I have been in this profession for nearly 30 years now. I've never had to discharge my weapon at anyone, right? And I've never had anybody discharge at me, fortunately. But, and there are instances where it happens, right? And there are instances that when the bad thing is happening, everybody else is running away and we're running toward the danger. But, it's doesn't happen frequently, but it can happen, right? So, yeah. But just engaging them in policing or your agency, Citizens Police Academy, going on a ride along, and then talking about what you plan to do in the profession and what you would like to do.
Okay. Awesome. Now I'm going to shift you in another direction, and you touched on it when we first started, and I'm using the term ministry. And so, and the spiritual part of Cheryl, because I know that part of her for so many years, but do you think that being the chief of police is a spiritual calling for you? Did you think that when you started, or think it now, or have you thought about that along the way? Do you feel like this is literally God's assignment and a spiritual calling for your life?
I absolutely believe that it is a spiritual calling on my life. Particularly being the chief of police and being here in the city of Waco. As I said before, when I had no intentions of ever leaving Houston, I was going to be okay as an assistant chief, maybe an executive assistant chief. Never really thought I wanted to be a chief in Houston. And I was going to retire when I was ready and just ride off into the sunset. But then I had a president of our former union call, and he told me about this opportunity here in Waco. And, and he was like, have you thought about being a chief yet? And I was like, oh, no, not yet. I've only been an assistant chief for 3 years, right? And so he was like, well, it sounds like a good opportunity. And the work that you're already doing at HPD, he said, you were the first person I thought of when they started telling me what they were looking for. And I was like, oh, I'm so flattered. Thank you so much. But I'm not going to Waco, right? And so we hung up the phone, and the Holy Spirit nudged for 2 hours, because I was like, oh, that's sweet, but I'm not going to Waco. I'm not moving to Waco. It's 3 hours away. My family is here. I don't know anybody in Waco. And for just nudge, literally, Sister Payne, to where I went, okay, I'll go look, right? I was like, I went out.
Finally, huh?
Yeah, right. After about 2 hours, went out and looked, found the character profile and every bullet point. I was like, I am doing that. I can't do that. I can do this. Got home, got my sisters on the three-way, and of course they asked the sister questions. How much are they paying? How far is Waco? And then one of my sisters, I don't remember which one it was, said, let's just pray about it and see what happens. And Sister Payne, that's what we did. And I had so much peace when I filled out did my cover letter, when I did my updated my resume. We had to answer 19 questions, and we had to answer 19 questions. Mine was 11 pages, single space. My responses were, but it just came so easily. It was because it was genuine and authentic, and it was me, right? But that whole time I was going, God, if this is not your will, I don't want to do it, because I'm going away from my family. I'm going to another city. I don't know these people, right? But if this is what you want for my life, I'm going to trust you and it'll work out. And if it doesn't, I'm still good. I love HPD, right? Wow. And the door just opened. Every door just kept opening. Okay, you're the final four. And I'm like, all right, Lord, here we go. And so that the day of my interview, I was still here at the tower doing a tour, and got a call from the city manager, and at 5 o'clock he called and offered me the job. And I was like, okay, here I go. I'm moving to Waco.
That's
So
amazing.
I wholeheartedly believe that it was God that got me here and that what he has me doing is a ministry. And I'm so fortunate to be in a part of Texas.
Mhm,
It's known as the Bible Belt or whatever, where so many people just pray. I don't care. It's a very diverse city
mhm,
and
mhm.
very diverse pastors in the neighborhood. And I tell you, I have all types that will pick up the phone and just text me and say, I'm praying for you and your team.
Wow. That's gotta be a blessing because policing in any capacity is not for the timid. It's not for those who are fearful, or it's not for those who can't make quick decisions, good quick decision, not off the top of your head, but you've got to be, I would imagine, a quick thinker, somebody who can ramp up pretty quick because things are like changing by the second. When you're out there and when you're dealing with things and dealing with people, and you don't know how people are going to actually respond to you. So when you are saying all that, I am a Christian. I know you're a Christian. And yes, the Holy Spirit does lead us. And so it's good for you to share that because people do need to understand that the Holy Spirit does speak. He does nudge us. He does unction us. And even though you might never put a word on it, but you couldn't rest. He didn't allow you to move from that spot until it was just an urging inside of you that wasn't letting up until you accepted, the call.
Yeah.
So yes.
I wholeheartedly believe that. And then I'm surrounded. I don't know if you heard me earlier because it froze up for a second, but I am surrounded by pastors who just,
Mhm,
embrace me. Um,
mhm.
I had one pastor when I first got here who said, hey, I want to get some of the pastors together and we want to pray for you. This was in April. I got here in March. And so I thought we were about to go into a room with about 30 folks. There was 171 pastors from the Waco area in that room. And they prayed for me. They asked me what my vision was, what I needed prayer for.
Wow.
And to this day, I get text messages from pastors from all community and all walks of faith that are just, we're praying for you. Whatever you guys need, we're here to support. And they have not disappointed. I tell you, when we
Mhm.
do stuff in the community and we call and ask for their help, they're there. So I'm just very, very blessed to be right here in this space. And I know that God put me here.
Well, I was gonna ask you about undergirding from your family, bloodline family, but you've been undergirded literally by a whole new family, like you said. And when you were here, I know you were very involved in church and prayer ministry and being girded up in our prayers. And so it looks like God just carried you, from this spot to the next, and He already had prepared people. And that's the beauty about that. When you're in God's will, He's already prepared where you're going, and their hearts were ripe for you to be planted. And so it just literally every day that girding and that covering is with you, And so like we're like now I'm now really excited that
I am really excited. That's funny that you say that because first of all, I started getting text messages from people going, "Oh, I'm praying for you going to Waco." Well, they were praying for a different reason. I'm the first female chief in Waco, and I'm the first African American chief in Waco.
Mhm.
So I guess Waco was a different place. But I talk to them now, and I go, I have not experienced that. When God said He was going to take care of me, He He meant that because that's what He's doing. Because I haven't had those experiences, right? So yeah, you're exactly right. And I started thinking, to be honest with you, I was like, Lord, was I not praying in your will the first time? Because now everything just lines up. I mean, it is
Yes.
just lined up, door after door are opening. Like I said, I'm able to go across the country, participate on boards, go and speak. It's been amazing. And he's still opening doors, right? Which is why I'm having to give up, start saying no to some things.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah.
Well, you are, I know we're getting close to closing up, but you are a role model for so many people. And I wonder, did you ever think that God was going to put you in this position where you were actually going to be such a model and a figure before so many aspiring people, or even though I don't want to go in law enforcement and I'm too old to go in law enforcement, but you are very inspiring. You really are. I don't know if you realize that or not, but I'm sure wherever your footprints have been, they have literally left just that footprints, and other people are walking in those footprints because you leave a room and people walk away thinking, wow, I just didn't know this. And now that I know, scripture tells us that, we perish because we lack knowledge. And when you're leaving these nuggets, these golden nuggets of knowledge everywhere you go, and even if that person doesn't want to be in law enforcement, they're talking about you to other people,
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. That's the exact feeling that I have here in Waco. I've had people come up to me, nothing against my previous chiefs, but the previous chiefs and my boss, who would say, we never knew a police chief's name until we met you, until we saw you, because I'm out there, right? And because I think that I'm a first in the first, especially when it comes to women's meeting, there are all kinds of organizations. They always ask me to come speak. And I always say yes, because that's an opportunity again for me to humanize the badge and change some perceptions in policing. And so I take advantage of all of those opportunities. And it's been I'm telling you, I could probably burst out in tears right now because everywhere I go and every time I leave that space, somebody says something like that. And no, I never would have imagined that this is where I would be and this is what God would have me to do. I was going to be good as an assistant chief, sitting in my office and not making the final decision.
Well, I wanted to add something, but I wanted you to finish that thought when you said that you're speaking everywhere, because again, I've known Cheryl for a very long time. And Cheryl actually, see, she knows where I'm going with this. We were at a retreat. She was my helper, so forth and so on. And in Sunday school class, I was her Sunday school teacher, and she would always tell me, no, Sister Payne, I can't do this. I can't talk. I can't get in front of people. I can't do any of these things. And she would come alongside me and she would help me with my presentations. And one time she got so involved in it, she forgot to do the slides in front of these hundreds of women, like, Cheryl, change the slides. She said, oh, shoot, I forgot. I was so engrossed in what you were saying. But now the tables have turned and I am so engrossed in what she's saying. Now she's in front of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. So I am like beaming on the inside because I'm thinking I had an influence with her shifting and changing the paradigm. And now here she is, unafraid, don't have any fears, inhibitions, so bold and able to stand up in front of people. So I'm just like, seriously. So
you should be, because I give you credit for that. I remember after one of the plays that I wrote that you pushed me, you made me go out there. And I was like, I don't need to say nothing.
She was in tears, y'all. She was almost literally in tears. I'm like, you're getting out there. You need recognition. That was the second thing I was going to say. She is a playwright, y'all. She writes plays, literally beautiful. Her play was production. We went downtown Houston. Had to pay money to go see this play. It was good. She has so many talents. So I'm just applauding her. Y'all need to applaud this chief. Waco, if y'all don't know this, you know it now. Your police chief has so many gifts and talents that have yet to be revealed. So I'm going to try to close this up because I'm like enjoying this, but I really want to say one last thing, and that is, in your career, I know that you have been trained to guard and protect other people, but I want to just mellow it down and bring it back down to you as a person, your well-being, your peace, your joy, that I know that you have to do things to guard and protect your peace, your joy, your well-being as a person that helps you stay whole and to stay grounded. So I wanted us to be able to glean some ears of corn and some good wheat from your field that you can help us to understand. How do you recommend or how do you teach people, even without saying it? How do you help people to understand that they need to guard and protect their well-being, their heart, their mind, their body, and their spirit?
I tell you what does it for me each and every day is prayer. On my way in, I am praying, and I tell my team all the time, you have a praying chief. And I think a couple of times I heard before when I first got here, oh, we can't say this, we can't. I was like, well, I'd be doing a disservice to this organization if I didn't tell you who is guiding all of my decisions. But I pray each and every morning on my way into work. I surround myself with people that I know love and care for me and that I can talk to honestly and get some good feedback. So I am not always this calm and
Mhm.
sometimes things get heated and there are some things that I need to make some decisions about, or there are some crucial conversations that I need to have. So I have to make sure that I have those trusted advisors that I can pick up the phone and call and who can either talk me down or say, hey, maybe we can go in this direction. So making sure that I have mentors and people that can tell me the truth. And when I'm going in the wrong direction or saying something I should not say, that will
Mhm.
say, no, think about what you just said, count to 10. That's how you may feel, but that's
Right.
not what we need to do. Because I always, Sister Payne, the one thing that when I make decisions, I'm not just representing Cheryl, I'm representing my family. I'm representing God. I'm representing this police department and the profession of policing, right? So surrounding myself with trusted advisors, and then also making sure I have some time to myself. Yeah, I had a busy schedule, and I'm giving up stuff now. But one thing that I prided myself on, people would try to fill up my weekends, and I would go, mm-mm. If I'm doing something on Saturday, that means on Sunday I have an option of going to church and spending that Sunday by myself with my dogs. I call myself, I finally realized in the leadership training what it meant to be an introvert. And it just means that I need to be by myself to get my energy back, right? Because when I tell people that, they're like, no, you're out and about, you're so friendly. No, but to get my energy, I had to recognize that and it's okay to be
To
by yourself,
protect that.
to read,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
to read, to pray, to have inspirational things all around you to remind
Mhm.
you of whose you are, right? And yeah, that's trusted advisors, prayer, and making sure I have some solitude and some time to myself. It's not as much as I like, but I have some.
When you were saying that, it reminded me of a saying that I like to say about sort of like the podcast. Number one, the time is a teacher and everyone is a student, and we're never not being taught by timing, and time management. That's going to always be a part of our decisions, like you deciding, I need time. And there's a certain timing of the week, a certain time of my life, a certain season. If a season is very stressful, then that means I may need to take more introspective or like you say, time to myself, introverted time because I need to recover. And then the other thing I think about as we're closing, I like to say, we have to, when I say protecting, you just explained how you protect yourself. And that is, you recognize that you can't let people hijack the cockpit of your soul, and they will do it if you allow them to. That's my term. You
I
can't let
love it.
everybody come into the cockpit because if they do, they will hijack it and they'll have you flying or they will fly you where they want you to go and have you doing what they want you to do. So you gotta, even though it might sound like you're being mean, but you do have to stay in control of you. Because if you don't, people will recognize she's not in control of herself. So I see an opportunity and they'll get in there and they'll take it.
That's
I'm
right.
learning that myself.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's
Well,
true.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said yes, ma'am. That is so true, and I have to be very, very careful with the things that come out of my mouth. I'm very slow and deliberate in decision making, unless there's a scene that I need to be on. We need to make quick decisions, but other than that, my team comes in. They're like, "You're so thoughtful in your decision." They'll come in here like the world's on fire, and I'll sit here just
Mhm.
like this, and I'll let them finish. I may take some notes, and then I'll go, "Okay, did somebody die? Are they seriously injured? No, then we could probably fix it." Might come with some consequences, but we can fix it. So everything to me is just not a fire. But at the same time, when people can see that in you and they know that when they come to you, that okay, she's gonna be calm, so I'm gonna be calm, right? They're gonna mirror with exactly what I'm doing. If I start getting freaked out and upset, they're gonna be because oh my God, the chief's freaked out and upset. So I'm gonna be freaked, but no. But you're right. I love that. We can't let people hijack the cockpit of our souls because people are watching. And
Yeah.
they're particularly watching me after 2 years. They're waiting on that one incident to show that I'm an angry Black female or that, there are all kinds
Mhm.
of things going on. There are a few people that, still have stereotypes about policing and who should be doing what. But I am very, very careful and always praying, Lord, let the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. And praying that his angels keep me from falling, even with the
Yes.
things that I say, right?
Yes.
Because I know that I'm representing not just myself, but the kingdom. So, yes, ma'am.
I love the fact that you're staying whole and grounded and sound-minded and mindful. And last point, do you actually still have your business that you created, the Leading on Purpose?
So I have Leading on Purpose. Yes, ma'am. I did Leading on Purpose before I left the city of Houston. I did a class called Building Trust from Trauma. I worked with a social worker. This was
Mhm.
right after George Floyd, so that we could talk about the historical traumas of policing. And it was a
Mhm.
mandatory training in the Houston Police Department. And that's when I thought to do Leading on Purpose, but also, write curriculum, develop emotional intelligence, ethics, whatever people need. And or if somebody asks me to come teach on something, I'm developing, PowerPoint slides and doing the research to make sure that I'm presenting it in the best way possible. So yes, ma'am.
I love it. That was what I wanted people to know when I said that she has gifts and talents and does a lot of things, and she may be reducing some of those things, but that's the person that I wanted y'all to be able to see, that she's even producing courses and ways that, again, is giving back to the community, building that course about building trust from trauma, because all of us, I'm sure, have had different things in our lives, and sometimes we need to be educated on how to do that. It's not a guessing game. You need professional help to get us through some of these things that all of us are experiencing. So as we close up, Chief Victorian, I'm closing up saying Chief Victorian the right way. Just close us out with something on your heart, a few words of encouragement, hope, and positivity, whether it be for young folks, young adults, or midlife and above folks. What one word or couple words, phrase, quote, anything that you want that's just coming from your heart to our heart. What do you want to tell us?
I would just like to say, live your creed. If you have a passion for something, stay in line with it. Let your light and your life reflect that what your passion is, and just live it and being authentic and genuine in each and everything that you do. And when you're genuine and authentic, you never have to pretend or guess, what you said to somebody, right? Or try to pretend to be something that you're not. So just make sure you're genuine, authentic, and just live your creed.
I love it. I love it. So thank y'all for joining me. Again, this is Chief Cheryl Victorian, Waco Police Department, Waco, Texas. And I'm Miss Belinda. This is A Day at a Time podcast. Join us, and I hope that you'll share this podcast with so many people, because so many people need to really see the heart of law enforcement that this chief has been able to share with us. So I'm enlightened. God bless you. And you are definitely continuing to be in my prayers. So God bless you, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, y'all, we're going to sign off. We'll see y'all next time.